Welcome to today's video. James is facing the most important decision of his life. Love or career, his company or Diep. One choice could change everything. It all started when James's company discovered a problem with an imported batch of wood. Hidden nails inside had damaged the machinery and even put workers at risk. But strangely, this wasn't the first time it had happened. Who is behind this sabotage? Suspicion slowly falls on a mysterious figure. While the company struggles with this crisis, James realizes he has been neglecting his work because of his love for Diep. Could this be the reason for his company's troubles? Then, his father issues an ultimatum. If James wants to keep his company and career, he must give up Diep. What will James do? Will he sacrifice love to protect his business? Watch the video to uncover the full story. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next developments. Everything started when James's company imported a batch of wood as usual. But this time, something was wrong. Hidden nails inside the wooden planks not only damaged the machinery but also put the workers in danger. Was this an accident or an act of sabotage? James and his team immediately launched an investigation. The first clue emerged when they discovered that the wood was acquired through a middleman. But was this intermediary truly trustworthy? They also noticed suspicious behavior among some of the transport drivers. One of them even fell seriously ill and suddenly left the country for treatment. Was this just a coincidence? As the situation grew more complicated, all suspicions started pointing toward a mysterious figure, someone who might have orchestrated the downfall of James's company. James stepped into his father's office, where the dim light from the window cast a somber yet heavy atmosphere over the room. His father sat behind the desk, hands clasped together, his expression stern. He didn't look at James immediately. Instead, he flipped through the pages of a document in front of him. As if contemplating an important decision, James took a deep breath. He knew this wasn't going to be an easy conversation. "You wanted to see me?" James spoke, trying to keep his voice steady. His father finally looked up, his gaze cold. He pushed a folder toward James. "Take a look." James flipped through the pages. The numbers on the documents revealed a harsh truth: company revenue was plummeting. Major contracts were being delayed, and their reputation had taken a severe hit following the imported wood incident. James clenched his fists. He knew the company was struggling, but he hadn't realized just how bad things had gotten. "What are you trying to say?" he asked. His father stood up and walked slowly to the window. "You've changed, James," he said, his voice calm but heavy with pressure. "Ever since you got involved with Diep, you are no longer the man you used to be. A CEO cannot let emotions dictate his decisions." James frowned. The company's problems have nothing to do with Diep. His father turned around, his sharp gaze unwavering. "Oh, really? Then why have you been late to crucial meetings? Why haven't you been as diligent in overseeing quality control? Why, when the company faced a crisis, were you spending time worrying about a woman instead of focusing on fixing the problem?" James gritted his teeth. "You know this isn't Diep's fault. The company is struggling because someone is sabotaging us. Whether there is sabotage or not is irrelevant." His father interrupted. "What matters is that when the company needed you most, you were distracted. A leader cannot afford to let personal feelings interfere with business. If you cannot separate the two, then you are not fit for this position." The words cut into James like a knife, wounding his pride. He straightened his posture, looking his father directly in the eye. "So, what do you want me to do?" His father slowly walked back to his desk, placed both hands on the surface, and locked eyes with him. "I'm giving you two choices," he said firmly. "One, you leave Diep and dedicate yourself fully to the company, proving that you have the strength to lead." He paused before continuing. "Or two, you keep her, but you lose everything, your position as CEO, your inheritance, and your future in this company." Silence filled the room. James felt his heart pounding. He couldn't believe his father was giving him such an ultimatum. "You really think I can't have both, my career and the woman I love?" His voice was low, almost a whisper. His father shook his head. "A man can love, but as a leader, he must know when to sacrifice. If you choose Diep, you will never be able to give your full attention to the company. There will always be times when you're forced to choose between the two. And if you hesitate, this company will collapse." James let out a bitter laugh. "So, to you, love is nothing but a weakness?" "No." His father's gaze softened, just slightly. "But for someone in your position, love is a luxury." James turned away, taking a deep breath. He loved Diep, but this company was his life's work as well. Could he truly afford to give it up? A minute passed in silence. Finally, his father spoke again. "I don't need an answer right now. But you must decide soon. If you choose the company, I expect to see you sign the document terminating your relationship with Diep by tomorrow." James clenched his fists. Conflict raged within him. One decision could change his entire life. What would he do? James left his father's office, his footsteps heavy as if weighed down by stones. His father's cold, sharp words still echoed in his mind. "If you choose Diep, you will lose everything." He clenched his fists. In the business world, he had always been a decisive leader. Yet now, he found himself completely lost. Outside, the rain drizzled softly. James drove to the small apartment where Diep lived. Along the way, his mind was flooded with memories of her, the sweet moments. The times she encouraged him through the pressures of work. He loved her. That had never changed. But was love enough for him to risk everything? When James arrived, Diep was already standing at the door, as if she had sensed something. She looked at him, concern in her eyes. "James, what's wrong?" James didn't answer immediately. He simply stared at her, as if trying to etch this image into his mind forever. Then, he took a deep breath. "We need to talk." Diep nodded softly and invited him inside. Her apartment was small but warm. James had been here many times before. But today, the space felt unfamiliar and heavy. He looked at her, his eyes filled with pain. "My father gave me an ultimatum." Diep froze. "An ultimatum?" James nodded. "He wants me to choose. Either the company or you." The air suddenly became still. Diep was silent for a moment, then smiled faintly, but he could see the sadness in her eyes. "So, what do you plan to choose?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with emotion. James looked down at his hands, as if searching for answers in the lines of his palms. "I don't know." Diep remained quiet. After a while, she stepped closer and gently took his hand. "James, I never wanted you to have to choose like this." James lifted his gaze to her, his heart twisted. "I didn't either," he said, his voice hoarse. "But what did I do wrong? Why is loving you suddenly a crime?" Diep gave him a sad smile. "You didn't do anything wrong. But sometimes, in this world, you just can't have everything." James tightened his grip on her hand. "But I don't want to lose you." Diep looked deep into his eyes, then gently touched his face. "Then, are you willing to give up everything for me?" James didn't answer right away. This was the question he had been asking himself ever since he left his father's office. He could lose his position, his company, everything he had worked so hard to build all these years. But could he bear to lose Diep? The room fell into silence. Outside, the sound of raindrops pattered against the window, echoing the rhythm of his heartbeat. Diep let out a soft sigh and slowly released his hand. "James, you don't have to answer me now. But I want you to remember one thing. I love you for who you are. Not for your status or wealth. If one day you feel that your choice is the right one, I will always be here." James gazed at her, overwhelmed with emotions. He knew that no matter what he chose, there would be no perfect ending for either of them. Outside, the rain continued to fall. What would James choose? Quote, So, James had found himself in the most difficult situation of his life. On one side was the company he had spent his youth building, on the other was his sincere love for Diep. Would James choose to give up everything to hold on to his love? Or would he put his career first and follow the path his father had laid out for him? The story remains unfinished, and James's decision could change everything. What about you? If you were James, what would you choose? Share your thoughts in the comments below and join the discussion with us. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next videos. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.